you're going to a nightclub, a bar, whatever, there are women giving signals out, right? Now, conscious signals, they are consciously doing it, or even unconscious, okay? Now, when I say unconscious, what do you think about that? Well, the guys in there in the secret society, the woman doesn't even know she's doing it, but he can pick it up, right? He can tell that she's almost saying, come and get me, you know? It's that kind of thing. As I was walking towards this place today with my mate, who's buggered off because I told him to go back and get the camera, there was a woman putting... she wasn't that old, actually. I'm not going to say she was a 10. She wasn't a 10. But she was not bad, you know? If I was desperate, I'd probably rail her, you know? Anyway, she was there, and she was loading stuff into the car, right? And she flashed a little signal like this. And I was going through this presentation last night with my mate, and he goes, that was an IOI. I said, yeah, it was really, really quick and subtle, but we both saw it, okay? They're doing this all the time. Women are giving out signals all the time, okay? Sometimes subtle, sometimes not. Sometimes they're conscious that they're doing it. They're doing it deliberately and saying, come and get me. Sometimes they're unconscious. They're not aware that they're doing it. Sometimes they're kind of in between. And so this is going on all the time, okay? And I'm constantly amazed at the degree to which guys don't see it, even guys that are supposedly clued up, okay? I've had guys on my, come on my training sessions, and I say, right, dude, approach that woman over there, you know, have a look at that woman. And they're like, what woman, you know? So I said, no, fucking that woman there, right? So not only do they see this sometimes very subtle signals, they don't even see the woman, okay? Things like right. So there's a lot going on, and if they do spot these signals, a number of things can happen, a number of different permutations, okay? They don't believe. They don't believe that it's a signal that the girl is giving, that she's saying she's receptive to being approached. Even beyond that, like, I'd fuck you if you approach me, right? They don't know that this is happening. They don't... This is not to denigrate my job. I'm not saying this. I'm saying that the vast majority of men don't see this world, is what I'm saying, okay? So they don't see that it's a signal that the girl, that she's receptive to being approached. They don't realise that, in fact, a signal is even being given, okay? If they see a signal, and they look at it, and someone tells them that it's a signal, they don't realise that it means anything, okay? Their perception of what it means is like, well, she's just looking at you, all right? She's just glancing around, doing her thing, okay? Or they don't even realise that the signal even exists. They're not cognizant of this world, if you like, you know? So look, if you're thinking at this point that you need to be like buff and all worked out and all this to get IOIs, it's my belief is this is my belief. There are women out there that will be genetically predisposed to your type, whatever that is, okay? So you're born and you grow up and you become an adult and you have your like base level, your genetic level, okay? That's point one. Some women will be genetically predisposed to respond to your thing, okay? So there will be women giving signals to you as of this moment that if you were aware of them and you capitalised on them with the correct beliefs in your head, you would fuck a lot more women, okay? Just from that alone. That, if it is, the one weird trick, okay? I'm using internet marketing, cheesy terminology, but it's that one little thing, okay? Just that, okay? That's point one. Point two, most guys don't make the best of their looks, okay? You guys are all pretty, you know, well presented. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'll just tick through, and you might know this already, but I'll just tick through the things that I've had done to myself, okay? To make myself the Greek god that I am today, to make myself as best as I can be, okay? So, I started to lose the rug about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. So I started taking Finpecia. Have we got that on camera? Can we just... So there we go. Now I'm not losing my hair anymore. Right? This is 10 years ago. I'm 38 now, 39 soon, and I've still got most of my hair, okay? Finpecia. I went to the gym, so I haven't been training for about 6 months, but nevertheless, I'm still in probably the top 5% in terms of physical strength and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So to the gym. Peacocking. Look at those boots. Aren't they beautiful? Look at that. Boots, peacocking, so fashion, things like this. What else?
Can you just do that boot again?
It's like a modelling show, isn't it? Look at that. And in the corner there, can you see the boot? I'm going to fall over, it's going to be very embarrassing. There's the boot. Check the fucking boot out. Right. What else? It's quite fun, this is, isn't it? I didn't realise this was going to be fun. What the fuck else? Oh, yeah, so I have my ears pinned back. Right? Notice one sticks out more than the other. Surgeon fucked it up a little bit, right? Just on that point, right? This is just like ad-libbed. So I don't think that when women are talking to you, they're like studying your angles and your gonial angles and your fuck. I know all the terms as well. I used to read PUA before it was taken down, you know, a little bit. I don't think they're doing all that, right? It's a general way you present yourself. So it's the confidence you present yourself. We know all this, right? But it's not just the fucking structure of your face. But nevertheless, I'm a bit pissed off that one of my ears sticks out more than the other, you know? So anyway, I had that done. I had a gap in my front teeth. I had that filled in when I was 16. I'm like 22 years ago. It's fucking due for a new one. This is an NHS job. It's quite a good job. You can't tell. But I had a gap in my teeth. That's filled in. It's still there behind the veneer. Oh yeah, I had dark under eye circles. I had injections under there. Probably won't need any more to get rid of those dark circles. So I've done a lot of fucking work on myself. Right? I spent some money. I thought about it a lot. The beard, I didn't have this until about 3 years. I'm fucking nearly 39 now. You would think it would be over, but it wasn't. There's always things that I've been thinking about. How can I improve, and well, shag more women, and so the aesthetic was part of it. So most guys don't make the best of themselves. That's the point I'm making. So don't be thinking that this doesn't apply to you, okay? It does. These signals are being given out at all times. Sex is everywhere, okay? The guys, these are the key points, the summary if you like. Sex is everywhere. Women are given these signals to lots of guys, not just, guys that have done all that shit. And if you approach in the right way of these signals, you'll get laid a lot more, okay? So those are the key points. And you should work on yourself, okay? Now at this point, let's have a look at a video of an IOI, okay? Right, did you get that? Right, how strong do you think that IOI was?
More than 3 seconds.
Okay, so if we were to give like 10 was a girl saying, "All right, fuck me now, Steve," and 1 was like just nothing, What? Okay, good. Anyone else? 3. Okay, interesting. You see. So you think it was very strong?
It was subtle, but it was like almost 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
It's quite long. I mean, a girl is pretty well when a girl looking at you for more than 3 seconds.
That's strong because she kept her eyes on as long as she could.
Interesting.
You and then moving on.
Okay, think about it. Look at the eyes themselves, all right? So look at the shine in them. There's something about the way that she's looking, right? Can you see it again? Did you see the little flicker at the end, little bat in the eyelids, right? That's a strong one. That's a 7 out of 10, right? That is, if I was to approach that girl, I would have fucked her, right? We did the boot camp thing, didn't we? And there was a moment before we made that video where there was a girl gave a really strong eye. She was better looking than her, wasn't she, as well, right? Yeah, she was, yeah. And she gave a really strong IOI. It's things like that. That is a strong one, okay? Trust me. That girl is saying, if approach me, I could fuck her, right? Guarantee you, okay? So I'll tell you a bit of history. So what I did is I wrote a thread about this and stuck this on PUA Zone, okay, with all the experts, And I put it up there. I said, look, if I approach this girl, I would fuck her, right? And then it got a bunch of replies. And they were like, are you sure? Are you sure that was an IOI? And I get this all day long. When I approach, I get blown out every time, okay? Things like this, okay? I'm saying, yes, I am sure. And yes, I would fuck her. And, well, you shouldn't be getting blown out every time when this kind of thing happens, okay? So something's happening there that's different, okay? So they're either misperceiving IOIs, or what I suspect is more likely, they are not approaching with the right belief in their mind that what it means, okay? So let me ask you, okay? When I talk about belief, I'm saying that, just some basic facts, I throw it out there, right? I'm saying that a person's frame, their belief systems, when they're doing something, the certainty with which they're doing it, and when they're approaching, has an impact on the recipient of that, the other person that's doing it, right? Human beings are malleable, you can make them believe things, and you can, with your frame, kind of take over that, not take over their reality, but you can make them think things that possibly they wouldn't have thought before, okay, when we accept that, right? This girl is predisposed, we're assuming, to want to fuck me. If I'm approaching very hard and fast, and I'm doing it with the full belief that she wants to fuck me, is it more likely that I'm likely to fuck her thinking that than if I think I wouldn't get blown out, Do you see what I mean? So it's with that belief, okay? Now, I'm telling you this stuff, and you're nodding, and you can say, yeah, okay, I believe this, right? You go out there and you try and do it in the real world, it's different, okay? So you need lots of reference experiences. So like I say, all the exercises I give you will start to get to see this world, okay? I'm kind of veering off on a tangent here, okay? So spotting the IOI, so it's about two things, okay? First of all, it's the awareness, okay? I think of awareness, I think about spotting IOIs as a portal into awareness, okay? And this is how it works. I think when you start to spot IOIs, you start to believe that sex is everywhere, okay? The act of spotting the IOIs means that by definition you have to be in the moment. You have to be pretty fucking sharp to spot them, okay? Like I say, guys like, where's the woman? They didn't see the woman. So to spot that kind of shit, and the even more subtle stuff, means that you have to, by definition, be in the moment, okay? The crux of natural game is to be in the moment and to be sensitive to the moment, such that when the woman is throwing stuff back at you, you know where she's at in that moment and you know what to do next based on your reference experiences and what's happening in real time, okay? So I think of this small little thing, and I keep banging on about IOIs, the ability to spot IOIs is like a portal into this awareness that I'm talking about, okay? Not only does it give you the ability to spot IOIs, but also teaches you almost like natural game, okay? The ability to be in the moment. It's the crux of it, okay? So there's many, many benefits to start to perceive this world, is what I'm saying, to start to notice these kind of reactions, okay? What you have to do to make this stuff work for you is you have to make it part of your life, okay? Have any of you ever heard of Jeff Thompson? So Jeff Thompson was a nightclub bouncer that worked on the doors for 20 years in one of the most violent cities in Europe, okay? And one of the things that he developed was the fence. And the fence is just a way of throwing up like a fence around yourself when a violent situation kicks off, right? It's very immediate and very fast, okay? And he says, throw this fence up and control them in a way without them being controlled, okay? Now, it seems very simple, but it's actually, like, very, very important, because that distance will rapidly close and they'll be in your face and it's going to be blood everywhere, right? So it's something that he practices, he says. It's called being on code green, okay? Code yellow. It's an awareness, okay? And it's kind of similar to this. It's an awareness that things might kick off at any moment. So whenever he's in situations, even when he's doing seminars like this and say somebody stands up, he's constantly moving his hands around and keeping them at distance without them knowing it. He does it every day of his life, and he's over 50 now, right? In the same way, I still do this game stuff every day, right? Whenever I can anyway. So, you know, I'm skipping off out of London. I'm going to find hotter women in other parts of the world. But whenever I can, I do this stuff. When I go into a shop, when I do it with waitresses, I'm constantly self-amusing. I'm even doing it now, right? Trying to make myself laugh and get myself in state, right? Just do it unconsciously. I'm always scanning for IOIs everywhere I go, right? I just can't turn it off, okay? You've got to do the same thing for you. You've got to start building this awareness, okay? I'm like I say, I'm self-amusing. If I'm chatting to girls, I can't help but flirt with them all the time, okay? So these exercises that I give you and this presentation today, and when you watch this product, start doing it like immediately, and just basically until you either become gay, dead, or give up on women. Do this now for the rest of your life. I'm serious, right? You have to live and breathe this stuff if you want to really get into this world that I'm talking about, okay? There is no other way, okay? It's all about that, okay? So I talked about exercises. I hope that in talking about this, it's kind of bringing you into this. And, you know, it's kind of obvious the things that you'll be doing, okay? But these are some exercises that will try and bring you into this world, this keen awareness that I'm talking about. And later on, we'll give you some specific forcing IOIs and IOI exercises, you know, pretty cool. So things like this, okay? Start to live in this world. So ever heard of a website called Texts from Last Night? Or Tinder Fashions or anything like that? No? So these are websites where, you know, boys and girls go out and fucking, you know, get railed and all this kind of thing, and then send texts the next day, often while they're drunk, you know. So there's text about girls saying, you know, I just flashed my pussy at my dad, you know, am I bad? You know, things like that, right? I saw that when I looked at them before I came here, and there was like, am I bad? I'm like, I would say that qualifies as bad, yeah. There's stories of, you know, guys waking up, you know, getting their dicks, just loads of filthy, fucking nasty ass shit, right? So immerse yourself in this world, okay? Immerse yourself in this world. So start to read websites like that. Filth, you know? Not porn, but filth. Start to read stuff like this. I'll send it as a link later, right? Start to do that. Live and breathe it, okay? Now, another one. This is interesting. When you go to restaurants or when you go to Starbucks or whenever you go out anywhere, public places, watch the difference. When a cool guy walks in, watch how the waitress is and what the guy does, which is different to a chode, right? Watch how they talk to the girls. Watch what the girls' eyes do. Watch where their head moves when the cool guy walks around. Watch, potentially, when the cool guy is getting his sitting down, having his drink, and suddenly, you know, the cleaning lady will suddenly clean it and like be polishing the table and being there rather a long time, you know, stuff like that. Watch how the cool guy talks to the women, what they're doing to create sexual tension and flirt with the girls, right? Now contrast that with a guy, a chode, you know. What are they doing differently? What things are they doing differently? Look at the contrast, the difference, you know. What are they doing to proactively reduce sexual tension? So they're not flirting, they're not teasing the girl, they're not having fun, they're not taking the nature of the interaction beyond the transactional, right? If they're buying a cup of coffee, they're like, how much is the coffee? £3, thank you, bye. You know, that's it. There's nothing going on there. There's no spontaneity. There's no fun, teasing, no sexual tension. Look at the difference, right? Start to appreciate this and see this and you know, and just try and do it yourself every day, right? You know, every day. Every time you go out, just try and do something like this, you know. Flirt all the time. I mean, constantly, right? If at the moment your pickup and the way that you do things involves going out at specific times or on specific dates to nightclubs or on the street and doing your thing, it's not enough, you know. So you've got to start living and breathing this stuff. So start to do this for yourself. No excuses. Every time you go out, flirt with waitresses, do stuff. It doesn't even have to be flirting. Don't put pressure on yourself, but start to do stuff like this. Say weird comments. I'll give you some later, okay? There's some exercises for that. But just start to do this kind of thing, okay? Like I say, if your sarging experience revolves around on specific dates and times going out and just chatting to women on the street and you do nothing else but that, it's not good enough, you know? You've got to use this, you know, this flirting as many situations as you can, okay? Live and breathe this stuff is what I'm saying, okay? Now, other exercises you can do, okay? Or other things that I would ask you to start noticing, okay? Recently, about, I don't know, 8 months ago, I was in Kiev before it all kicked off, you know? And it's one of my favourite places on earth. And it's not because of the fucking food either. You know? So I was sitting there in the restaurant, almost vomiting at the disgusting gruel in front of me. But fortunately, there's something very nice happening in the background. It's this beautiful girls like walking down the street, sometimes holding hands with their other girlfriends, right? I mean, like Beverly Hills 90210, but better, just fucking beautiful, just walking up and down, right? So I'm sitting there eating my food and, you know, chatting to my mate, and there's these girls walking past, and isn't that lovely, you know? And then like turning around, and fuck me. 3 minutes later, they're walking past again, right? What they do is they just walk up and down the street. Why are they doing that? It's the middle of summer, they've got these little skirts on, and they're literally just promenading up and down the street, okay? Not because they're prostitutes, no. Because it's the daytime. It's because they want guys to notice them, okay? Start to notice shit like this, you know? It's very obvious there, right? Because A, they're so beautiful, and B, because there's only like one main street, Creshatic Street, right? And they're walking up and down the street. But see it in the summer, especially in the summer, right? London is a kind of a hard place, but a bit harsh place. But you will see women just walking around. They want to be noticed, right? They're trying to draw attention to themselves, you know? They're wearing short skirts. And don't believe this bullshit that they say, oh, we just come to dance with our bollocks. You know, they come out to be noticed, okay? Start to notice this kind of stuff, you know, women promenading around, okay? Go to shops like Victoria's Secrets. Look at just, you know, just normal girls coming out there with these big grins on their faces, all excited, you know, because they've got little bags and they've got dildos in there. And they're going to get fucked, and you know, and they've got all their like lovely little underwear that they're going to wear with a boyfriend. And they're all excited about it, you know. Look at and start to perceive that this, you know, sex is everywhere. Women are fucking filthy, you know, and they're giving signals all this time. Okay, these are the signs that you should be looking for. Play mind games with yourself. You might like this one. This is Nick Krauser wrote this one. What a minx game, okay? I didn't write this. So when you see a girl, make up excuses to call her a minx and think that she wants it, okay? Now, this is my example was, if you walk in Sainsbury's and you see a girl with a baguette, think, what a dirty minx. She's got a baguette, she's obviously thinking about my enormous cock, you know? Things like that, you know? Any excuse you get, a girl with strawberries, you know? What a minx. She's got some strawberries. She's obviously thinking about licking my balls, you know, stuff like that, right? Any situation in which you can twist it and think about sex and that kind of thing and how, you know, women want it all the time, okay? It might be absurd and we're all laughing, but the idea is just to get off your usual train of thoughts and kind of take yourself away from the boring humdrum existence and start thinking along these lines at least. Start getting this awareness. It's super, super important, okay? If you see this, again, I'll repeat, if you see this and you start to see these IOIs for yourself and you start to approach with this belief, your results are going to go like this, okay? Just from that one little thing, okay? From this awareness. Don't be like Mr. What fucking girl? That one there, you know? Don't be like that, okay? That's what I'm saying. Right, does anyone have any questions about awareness and what we've talked about?
So, being able to detect the awareness, I mean...
Detect the IOIs?
The IOIs, yeah, sorry. To detect the IOIs, does that just come with experience? I mean, okay, so I'm walking down the street and I see a girl, say, just look at me. I'm thinking, she's just looking at me. Maybe she just, I don't know.
That's a really good question, right? What I would suggest is... I think it comes with experiences, you know, the ability to spot them. Sorry. I think the ability to spot them comes from experience, okay? But actually, to even spot them, you have to kind of believe that it's happening, and I think that comes with just doing it a long time, okay? Shall I talk about how I started off with IOIs? But I've got it later in the presentation. No, I'll talk about that later. But basically, it revolves around scanning for it, trying to get this awareness, and then starting to see things, then being proactive and actually going in hard, noticing that the reactions that you're getting are a lot more positive than when you weren't noticing them. You know, on a case-by-case basis, if she gives an IOI first versus not, you'll tend to get warmer responses. You'll think, hang on, so that must mean something. You'll start to kind of perceive it for yourself. It will become obvious to you. And then it's like, I think it's just like you tune in more and you start to pick up things more as the awareness goes up, I suspect. That's how it works, you know. And then you start to notice more. And then you start to be more ballsy and start to force them out more. You start to take up more space and like walk around like the fucking man, you know. And then more and more come. And then, you know, just snowballs from that. That's how I see it, you know. Fucking knackers. Anyone got any more questions? No?
When you were talking about genetic predisposition and maximizing looks, were those just the two other things, or was there more on that list? Because I was just writing notes.
Yeah, two other things on what?
First you said, I can't remember what you were talking about.
I gave you a fucking long list, mate, of the things that I've done.
I
I have a cock made bigger as well.
Not the list of what you did to maximize your looks, but first you said genetic predisposition, that stuff. Then you said maximizing look. Was there anything else that you were talking about then? I'm just trying to remember.
No, I mean, genetic predisposition, what I meant is like I say, certain women will just like your thing, okay? And they'll be genetically predisposed to you. Oh yeah, so, I mean, look, what I was going to say was, did I say this? Maybe certain guys of a certain look, you know, are going to get IOIs, more of them, more consistently with hotter women. Well, tough shit, deal with it, you know, that's just life, you know. But just to expand on it, you know, make the best of yourself, and certain women will just go for your thing. That's basically what I was saying. That was the sum total of what I was saying there, you know. Like I say, I think everybody... it's like a ping, you know. You go into a situation, a girl just responds well to you. She's just predisposed to respond well to you and what you've got to offer, you know. And working on yourself and all of this stuff can only kind of increase that net, if you like. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a cafe just before I came here and I asked for a bacon sandwich and I said to the girl, you know, you've got to feed.
Sorry.
No, I said to her, you've got to feed the animals, you know, and she just sort of chuckled and laughed, you know, and stuff like that. And then later, when she came over, she sort of took me cutlery, and she just sort of bowed like that, you know.
Bowed?
Yeah.
All right.
So it was like a sort of acknowledgement, you know what I mean, almost.
Okay, cool.
You know.
Well, there you go. So that's the beginning of flirting, right? That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, you know. So, you know, in that situation, you could have said, look, you're a nice girl, you know, we could go out sometime, you know, give me a number, you know. I don't know. Maybe not do that, but something like that, you know. Right, so IOIs. We'll talk in a bit more detail about IOIs, okay? So this is a technique, or IOIs, I've been using this for about 20 years. And it's been kind of like a linchpin of my game for all this time, okay? And I would estimate has earned me maybe 200 lays, something like that, quite a lot, you know? So I just want to say at this point, this early part of the presentation is all talking about IOIs, okay? I'm not saying that you don't cold approach as well. I think you got that because you've just done one, right, in between the presentations. But I'm not saying you don't cold approach. You learn like a massive amount. My game, if you like, shot up when I started cold approaching. I'm not saying you don't do that. I'm just saying that, you know, enters into the portal of awareness and opens opportunities that you probably never realised you had, okay? It's also less emotionally demanding when you approach off them. And I'm kind of drifting into later areas, but I'm not saying don't cold approach, okay? Just want to make that clear, okay? So, IOIs. So what do? They give you an opportunity to easily gauge who is into you quickly and give you an easy in, okay? An easy approach, okay? So one of the concepts I want to talk through is the strength of an IOI, okay? So I just showed you a video, and we said that was probably a 7 out of 10. It was a strong IOI, okay? So a 10 would be fuck me, and a 1 would be, well, it'd still be fuck me, but it would be less obvious, okay, less to the trained eye, you know, to a guy that's not used to spotting these things, okay? Now, it's my belief that regardless of how strong it is, even if she's not aware she's doing it, or she's giving you like subtle ones, like she's walking down the street with her boyfriend, and she just like glances over at you and she's giving you an IOI, okay? Now, he's not aware that this is happening, but you are and she is, okay? That's enough. That's enough to fuck her, okay? I'm not saying there and then in the street with the boyfriend watching, like the pornos, I'm not saying that, but that's enough, okay? You've got to get that into your head. It doesn't need to be super strong in order to fuck them, okay? So this is your default position from now on. If you're walking around and you think you get one of these mystical IOIs, you think but you're not sure, do something, go and approach, you know? Make that your default position, okay? I've got a note here that says Pavlov's dogs. Have anyone heard of Pavlov's dogs? Right, we've all heard of this. A Pavlovian response to a set of stimuli. So, IOI, approach and fuck, right? That's what you've got to start thinking, okay? Use those terms, okay? So, I've talked about strength. We'll talk about conscious and unconscious IOIs, okay? So, conscious one is where she's signaling to you and she wants you to come over and approach her, okay? She's saying, come and get me, okay? Unconscious ones, she might be embarrassed about the fact that she's signaling to you that she's interested in you, okay? She might be with her boyfriend, like I said in that example a minute ago, okay? So, she might be embarrassed, she might be with a boyfriend. So if you were to go over, she might be hostile when you approach, okay? But think about what that means. She might be hostile or pretend to be indifferent. But you've got to go in with the assumption that, of what I've said, that 90% of the time you can fuck women off IOIs, okay? If you go over to a woman and you approach her and she's giving you exhibiting some kind of emotional response, you're getting something back, okay? My belief is you can work with virtually anything, you know, aside from disgust or indifference, okay? If she's like indifferent to you, like you don't exist, you're fucked, okay? If she's disgusted at you, that's also not optimal, okay? But anything else, even if she's a little bit hostile, that means something, okay? That means you've affected her in some way, okay? So the hostility might come if she's giving you one of these unconscious IOIs or the boyfriends around, all that kind of thing. It doesn't mean that you can't win her over, okay? And proceed from that basis, okay? So the type of IOI she will give you is based on her character. What kind of woman she is. You know, you get very ballsy, brassy, you know, confident club girls. You get little shy, retiring student girls, different types, okay? It's dependent on her characters, how she's feeling in that moment, how confident she is, whether she's on a period, all sorts of different things, right? Different kinds of IOIs will come at you. But from now on, if you get what you think, if you get one, go over and have a go, okay? That's all I would say on this, okay? So this is the kind of things that, you know, when you start to use IOIs, this is what they give to you, okay? I will point out some of the benefits of this simple technique, okay? I'm drifting kind of into the area of forcing IOIs now, assuming that you're going to be forcing IOIs as you're walking around, okay? Doing things to get reactions from women. So whenever I take guys in my training sessions, like boot camps or residentials or one-on-ones or whatever, I liken an IOI to like a great big fishing net, okay? So whenever you walk out and you're like looking around you all the time and trying to force these IOIs out, it's like throwing out a big net that any women that might be interested in you are going to like ping you back, okay? It's this huge net that's everywhere that you go, like in your peripheral vision, getting pings and responses from women to say, you know, come and approach me, okay? You might go out and do this, you might be getting 5, 10, 15 IOIs a day, right? Imagine if you approached every single one and you're getting positive responses off, say, 80, 90% of them, imagine how much of a difference that would make to your results versus kind of like spam approaching on Oxford Street, right? Imagine the difference. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So you're opening opportunities to chat to girls without even having to approach, okay? Now, I was just talking with some of you downstairs about the amount of people that know about this pickup stuff, okay? It's enormous, right? A lot of people know about this. How many of those guys write comments on blogs? A lot of them, right? How many of them mentally masturbate? A lot, right? How many of them actually do anything, okay? It's a tiny proportion. And when they do something, why do so many drop out? I would estimate it's about 95 to 99% of guys that ever do this stuff drop out and never continue with it, right? Why? Because potentially it's emotionally taxing to approach, okay? Why does everyone afraid? Why does everyone get approach anxiety? We all know that you can get over it, but guys drop out, right? I think it's because it's emotionally taxing. So this IOI forcing and then going in off IOIs is like a midway point between doing nothing and spam approaching and getting blown out every single time, okay? It's a midway point. It's an easier way of getting yourself in there. We all know that we're supposed to be men and do lots of different things and challenging ourselves. Sometimes we just can't be fucking arse, let's be honest, right? So if you get a nice IOI and you think, yeah, I'll just zoom over there or, you know, meander over there, whatever the word is, and you'll get a good response and you're confident about it, it just makes things a lot easier, okay? It's less emotionally demanding on you, okay? So it gives you that easy way in, okay? So I'm at the point now, and I was actually at the point many years ago, I guess I could say, is when I got an IOI, I had a Pavlovian response to it, okay? I would go over and I would assume that I could fuck her, and, you know, that was borne out, not based on me being, you know, insane, but doing it many times and having that response, okay? That's what happened to me. So I will give you kind of my story on how I started with IOIs. I hope in telling this story, because there's a bit where I talk about how I actually first got laid, and it was actually 2 years after I started forcing IOIs, okay? And then the results just shot up like this, okay? So it's a story for a reason, okay? So this is how I started with IOIs, okay? So I grew up in this small little village, and my first time I ever tried to force IOIs consciously was on a bus. And I used to use the handrail to force IOIs, okay? You might be guessing what's coming. So there's a handrail on the bus. You know, I didn't work out this time, but I was born with quite large arms, okay? So, a handrail on the bus, and I would stand there and grip it as fucking hard as I could and pull down and tense my biceps, all right? This is what I used to do to force IOIs. Now, I was like 16, 17 at this time, and sometimes there were girls on buses. If there weren't, I'd do it anyway and try and get one off men, right? No, I didn't, no. I've been trying to get IOIs off girls, you know? And, you know, sometimes the girl would notice me with my fucking tense arm, like with this, almost like shit in myself. Come on, bitch, you know, trying to get this IOI, okay? Now, so then I wouldn't do anything. You know, I didn't know what approach. Well, fuck, I don't know. So I'd just tense, and then I'd get off the bus. Sometimes before my stop, because that was my routine, not before my stop. I'd get off at the appropriate point. Don't ask me what if she got off before me. Let's just assume that she never ever got off before me, and I'd get off the bus, right? So, having tensed the arm, and then I'd like scanning the bus to see if she's looking at me afterwards, right? And then the bus zooms off, and then I think, oh yeah, she likes me. She likes me, right? This is what I thought. This was before I got laid, okay? I then graduated from the arm tensing on the bus to the escalator. So I would go into department stores and ride up and down escalators all day and try and get birds looking at me. So then from the arm tensing to like, I'd be like turning my head and trying to get them to get a reaction from women, like always, right? All this time, you know, I hadn't been laid yet, right? And sometimes birds would look at me, like on the perfume counter, and be like, ooh, look at him. So they'd give me an IOI, okay? And I think, yeah, she likes me, right? This continued for about 2 years, right? So I'm one of these guys that, I guess you could say it's not a confident guy, you know. I have to have evidence, reference experiences, to believe something is real, okay? Anyway, so that it started like that, and then, you know, age of 19. So I had some sexual experiences, you know, they wanked me off and all this kind of thing, but I never actually stuck my dick in a girl till I was 19. So 2.5 years of fucking around with IOIs and not doing anything, basically, right? Then I went to university and, you know, doing the IOI thing, not the arm tensing, I graduated from that. Even when I was walking, I could actually move and force IOIs at this point. And we went out to a nightclub one night, and actually I was doing this in nightclubs, and sometimes I'd, you know, go up to birds and like sometimes 6 or 7 a night without even saying anything, sometimes getting off with them immediately, because I had this conditioned response to IOIs, okay? Just hadn't had the sex yet, okay? So I knew that they liked me, okay? Then one night we went out, fat girl was there, relatively fat, chubby, shall we say, English girl, and she opened the door, right? So we went out and we had a great time. We all went home together. There was a group of us, it was a group of friends, and we were sitting on the couch. This was how much I didn't escalate in those times. And she said, look, I'm going to bed. Do you want to come up? I thought, oh yeah, have a good night's sleep. You know, so I went up, lay down in the bed like a fucking giant surfboard with my cock sticking up like this. She's wanking me off, and then she jumps on me and she fucks me, right? She fucks me. I didn't fuck her, she fucked me, okay? So she did give me an IOI, and then I proceeded to have sex, right? The first time ever. Now, after that happened, I thought to myself, is that it? Is that what sex is about? All that fucking time fucking around. And I can just, is that it? That's nothing, right? It's nothing, right? So, because I had this conditioned response to IOIs, I then proceeded to just rail everything, right? So it's my first year at university. I went nuts. I was like, sometimes shagging 2 or 3 girls a week. In Essex this was, okay? Okay, it was in Essex. Essex has a reputation. But I was going out shagging a lot of birds, right? I started to get a reputation in the university. It wasn't just shagging first years, it was shagging 4th years. Older women, you know, like the girls, like the, you know, I was doing this, you know, because I knew about IOIs and all that. I was kind of in the secret society already. And now I'd got the reference experience of getting laid, so I was just, the gloves were off, basically. So that's how I started with IOIs. But it's a funny story, but the point is that, imagine how many lays I would have had if I'd approached off IOIs, you know, 2 years ago, but I hadn't got that reference experience. So what I'm saying to you is, start to notice this stuff. You certainly will be more experienced than me, because I was a virgin, right, until I started this. And just start to capitalize on this and do this and force these out, you know, the exercises we'll give you later. And your results can just shoot up like this, okay? That's kind of what I'm saying. That's what the story is about, okay? So, again, the Pavlovian response to IOIs should be that, look, I can actually fuck this girl like I did, and she won't be fat either, and she won't have to jump on you to fuck you. That's basically what the story is about, okay? So, the mindset. So I've kind of, I think you might have got the mindset by now. Look, if you get just one IOI, that's enough, okay? If it's a weak one, you can still fuck her, I promise you, okay? Just try it. Try it for yourself. If you get an IOI or you think it's an IOI, go in and go in hard, okay? We'll talk about that later. So go in with the assumption that you can fuck her, okay? Over time, you'll build the ability to do this reflexively, okay? So I always say that the first 30 seconds of the pickup is the hardest, okay? It's kind of the make or break moment, and it's the most emotionally stressful for you, okay? What will happen is when you approach a lot, you will develop like little mini routines for the first 30 seconds, okay? Now imagine if you're getting IOIs, you're forcing them out, you develop this mini routine for the first 30 seconds and you're going in hard and you're getting all these positive responses, how your results are going to go up, okay? And so it'll become ingrained in you over time. The first 30 seconds, you'll get past that point easily. And then it's not plain sailing, it's not like the Disney, but if you can get past that, you can kind of move things along is what I'm saying, okay? So your mindset should be, I'm just going to keep fucking battering away at this. She's given me an open goal, okay? I just need to stick the ball in the net. That's kind of the analogy that I would use. And if anyone likes football, I hate it personally. I don't even know why I wrote that. So go and put the ball on the net. So go in strong and with confidence and assumptiveness to say that I can fuck her, okay? Again, when you first do it, you're like, right, I'm going to go in and assume I can fuck her. You won't, right? You won't believe it. But over time, I'm hoping that you'll notice these and you'll be like, the fucking world will open up. You'll approach off some, you won't believe it all the time, but then things will start to happen, and sure enough, you'll start to get these very positive responses. We'll go into how to open off IOIs in a bit. It's do it in a particular way, and I can just tell you that when you do, you're going to have a dump of A, a very excited girl, and B, a dump of sexual tension, right? You've experienced this. It's different. It's different to the way that you approached before, and I hope it will start to open your eyes to what I'm talking about, that you can actually fuck these girls, okay? So the IOI is your foot in the door. Obviously, you still need to do the rest and not fuck it all up like I was doing for all that time, okay? So this is the sequence, okay? And this is important. So it's like an antenna, right? So is that an antenna? So there's an antenna at this side, and there's the signal, there's the recipient at this side. I don't know what the term is, like the phone and there's a signal, right? So you're walking down the street and you're pinging, right? So this one is sending stuff out. The girl walks past and she gives you a signal, right? And suddenly there's an instant connection between two of you, like, yes, we can fuck, right? It's like that. Instant connection, okay? When you get this connection and she gives you the IOI, it's very important that you acknowledge it, at least, you know? You don't just like, I'm so cool, you know? You don't do that. You're blowing her off, right? You're making a, I don't know, it's rude, I don't know. It's tooling her, right? You're tooling her if you don't acknowledge it, right? If you want to fuck this girl, don't tool her, you know? Acknowledge it. So she gives you an IOI and you like, you know, say, nod, wink, whatever, and then go straight over, okay, and say something. Now, what I always do is I reference the IOI immediately, right? So I go over and I say, oh, you know, I think we had a moment back there, didn't we? Something like that. Or, you know, I just couldn't help you, just saw you looking at me, so I thought I'd come over and talk to you, like something like that, okay? Reference the IOI immediately. Don't try and be all cool and say, did you just give me an IOI over there? I'm pretty sure you did, or something like that, right? Don't ask them the question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong was your IOI then? Nothing like that. Don't do that kind of thing. Just go over there and say, I saw you looking at me, okay? And then reference the IOI immediately. I think we had a moment back there. And then proceed with the escalation, okay? So let's say you're on the street. You've probably seen my videos. They ain't very fucking long, are they? They don't last very long. They're like 1 to 3 minutes, okay? Doesn't have to be like this enormous tale, this Iliad of Homer. It's not like that, right? It's quick, okay? It can happen in 1 to 3 minutes. So proceed with the escalation, okay? Try and take it to the next stage. If you're on the street, you know, if you can take her on an instant day, right? Take her somewhere, you know, go somewhere and steer things in that direction. If you can't, you know, take the number, right? 1 to 3 minutes, something like that, okay? If you're in a nightclub and she's with her friends, you know, talk to the friends, we'll go into that later, but try and take her somewhere and sit her down, tip close to the exit so you can extract later on, and it's something like that. But try and escalate, try and take things to the next level pretty quick. This is approaching off IOIs, okay? So it's quick. Try and move things along quickly, okay? So I've kind of hinted at it, so I will tell you. So when you approach in this way, and I say go in hard, you're going to get a dump of sexual tension, okay? It's going to be quick, and the girl is going to be excited, and you're going to feel it in your body, okay? You will feel the difference between approaching and just waffling and talking about nothing and standing miles away from her, between approaching and creating this sexual tension, okay? That in and of itself, I love it. I think it's great. It's beautiful. You know, I thrive on it. I love it, right? But potentially some guys avoid doing this. Maybe they know about this and they avoid it because they can't handle the sexual tension. Maybe it's a stressful thing, okay? I've got a video I'm going to show you now of a guy that's been in the game. He's a good friend of Nick Krause's as well, you know, a good friend of mine. Until I told him he couldn't use my bed to fuck a girl, he was a good friend. He, in this video, talks about that he finds it very stressful to approach women and have this sexual tension in his face immediately, you know. So it's going to happen, right? But this is the kind of thing that you're going to face, okay? So I guess I'm showing this video to show that it can be stressful and you've got to kind of deal with it, okay? Here it is.
Hi, I'm John. I'd like to tell you an example story of something I encountered, which is related to what Steve's been talking to you about. I was in a nightclub in a former Soviet Union country with my friend Nick Krause. And I'm not very familiar with nightclub game, and I'm no game expert. I've done a fair bit of day game, but night game is a new thing to me, and I still struggle with some of the raw intent, you know, of what Steve's been talking to you about, the primal side of things. So we were in a nightclub and walking around, and Nick was saying, what we're going to do is we're going to do what Steve does, forcing IOIs. So basically, you know, we're parading around this nightclub a bit, and girls are checking us out. And Nick said, John, because I didn't even notice the IOIs. That's a mindset I still even struggle with. The acceptance, you know. Girls check me out, like I have sexual worth as well. So Nick said, oh, John, that girl, she just give you a huge IOI. So I thought, okay, great. And then I went to walk away, and Nick said, what are you doing? Acknowledge it. And my gut reaction was to diffuse. There was a spike, the girl had shown me intent. My gut reaction, it just flew straight back to my chode days, my pre-game days, of like, well, surely acknowledging it's bad. And I later on, I thought, why would I think that? Why would I think that acknowledging that beautiful little exchange is bad? And it's to do with what Steve's been talking to you about. It's the instincts I learned pre-game, which is to hide my intent and to diffuse tension. because ultimately, somehow, that's ultimately how you get laid, which is, of course, dishonest, because what you really want is to get laid. So I've been doing game for a couple of years, and still that instinctive reaction was hide it, diffuse it.
Diffuse sexual tension specifically, right?
Yeah. So I didn't. I fought against it. So I turned and just nodded, looked at the girl, nodded, didn't make a big show of it, and we walked on. And then later on, that was a base, that was building a base, and later on, I went and bumped into the girl again and talked to her.
And what was the reaction like when you approached her? It was kind of on straight away?
The second time? Yeah, because she'd given me a signal, and I'd shown the social intelligence, the sexual intelligence, to acknowledge it, not be weird, not be shameful, not rush in, just a little acknowledgement. And the next time I bumped into her, she was delighted. She just straight away.
There we go. So, and I didn't pay that guy, obviously. That was my room over there in Serbia when I went to see these guys. Anyway, so that's John's story. So John's been doing game a couple of years, like he said. Now, I want to get the slides back on, don't I? Right, I've forgotten where I am. So, yeah, so John's been doing a couple of years, and his instinct is to, diffuse sexual tension. I don't know. I mean, look, should we do questions now? Yeah? Does anybody else, you might want to not want to reveal it now, but can anyone recognise that instinct to want to diffuse? Really, right? You just, you want to kill it? Okay, so what we're talking about here is IOIs, and approaching, and you're going to get like a big dump of it, it's going to be kind of sexual, the tension will be there straight away, Now look, it's my belief that this is one of the real cruxes to getting laid, is the ability and to love the sexual tension, to create it, and to realise it when it's there, and to harness it, and to use that to move things forward. So by fair means or foul, you have to get used to this and to really enjoy it, You're aware of what it is, right? I mean, you know it when you feel it, but you try and... Tell me about that. I don't know. I mean, how does that... Any questions on this is what I'm saying.
It's basically, it's almost like because escalating it is scary. So it's kind of a weird thing, because in your mind, obviously you're approaching and you want to fuck this girl, approaching to try and get her. And then as the tension builds, it's almost like you lose your bottle, effectively.
But are you saying that when she's saying to you, she's reciprocating and playing the dance, and she's playing along, and you're saying that you lose your bottle because she's saying, and you're like...
It's like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right, all I would say is this, okay, so expect that a lot more, great. But look, you can't fuck about, right? You've got to have this sexual tension, you've got to screen out when it's not there. So first of all, you're not going to waste your time, point one. Point two, this is going to happen a lot more, okay? I would suggest that when you get used to this, point three, there will be a point where, a point in time where you actually start to relish it and enjoy it, and that's when things really take off, I would guess, if you're in this situation where you actively avoid sexual tension, okay? Look, you can't, okay? It has to be there, and without it, it's just not going to happen, okay? I mean, it's like, look, she has to view you as a sexual threat, she has to view you as an equal on some level, she has to admire you, I even think it goes beyond that. And sure as hell, that sexual friction has to be there. And if it's not, I don't know what kind of relationship you're going to have with this woman, it's just going to be like, should we have sex? And it's like, yes, okay, let's do that later, It's not, certainly not the raw, passionate stuff,
It's like approach anxiety. I guess. You have the anxiety to approach, but you will know you can overcome it. And you push yourself through it. So it's the same thing. So when you get the sexual tension, like a period of time, you might diffuse it because you're scared and you don't know what you're doing, and you're worried about whatever stupid things that you go through your head. And you realise obviously it has to be there, so you push through it. So actually, you then stop diffusing it, and you actually say, okay.
Yeah, I can think of some drawbacks. I'm thinking about John, actually. So At some points, you're going to have this, you're going to approach and you're going to have sexual tension, and you're going to blow yourself out a lot of times, you know, because you're scared and all that. That's going to cause pain, okay? And what you've got to do is say, okay, look, I ain't going to fucking give up, okay? So you've got to use that pain to strive you forwards. You'll probably sulk about it for a day or two, but I think this is what my mindset would be, is like, well, look, either I get laid or I don't, right? So I've got to just accept this pain and use it to strive me forwards. To drive you forwards. If your problem is that you can't accept sexual tension and you find it difficult, that's a good problem to have, okay? The fact that it's there means that you're on the way to getting laid. If it wasn't there and it was just you were seen as a puppy dog, then you're fucked, okay? So that's what I'm talking about, you know? So see it as a positive thing, a good symptom, if you like, you know? That's what I would say.
Do you think at that point you should sexualise your language a bit more?
At what point? When?
You know, when after you've created the sexual tension.
I mean, look, so there's a number of... What you're talking about there is techniques to create it and ways to exploit it. And we kind of get onto that later.
Oh, right.
So it's probably a more opportune moment to ask about that later, you know, after we've gone through it, and then otherwise we'll just end up repeating it a lot of times, you know.
I guess what you're saying is that just the mere fact that you're acknowledging the IOI, it's there.
Yeah.
Sexual tension is going to be there.
It's going to be there when you approach and you... I mean, look, I'll get into examples later. In fact, that's on the next slide. It can be like super strong, you know, like literally the girl's like pressed up against you and she's almost like all over you, you know. That's about as strong as it gets when you approach off an IOI. Or it can just be she's a bit coquette, all sorts of reactions, but it's going to be there, you know. It's going to be something's going on, okay? Let me put it another way. It's completely and utterly different to approaching a girl and just having a boring conversation and not really going anywhere or doing anything, okay? It's utterly, utterly different, you know?